What is up, everyone? My name is Brett Billet, and today we're going to tackle asynchronous model validations in Angular with Vest. So before, we have seen how we could do model validations, we saw how we could optimize conditional validations, and now we're going to tackle the asynchronous part of that. So we have added this user ID field, and we want to check if it exists. If we type in 1 and the user ID exists, we want to throw an error. So the first thing that we need in here is we need access to some kind of service. We will create a Swappy service, and that Swappy service will go to the Swappy API, the Star Wars API, and check if an ID exists. But this is framework agnostic, right? We need some way to pass that asynchronous function to this. So let's create a factory. So let's write our tests. When there is user ID, we want to test if it's already taken. So this is a regular test, but we're going to create an asynchronous one. So let's add the async keyword here, and let's call the Swappy API. Now the problem is this returns unobservable, and we want to get a promise from it. So for that, we're going to use the last value from function. When we get a result back, when we don't get a 404, we want to reject this test because that means the user already exists. If we get an error from the backend, we know the user does not exist, so we want to resolve it. If there's a call already happening, we want to cancel the previous one. So for that, Vest has given us this abort signal. Take until from event signal abort. Let's import this one as well. Well, this won't work yet. This is the only code that we need to write in our validation suites. If we go to the template-driven forms folder, we see this utils file here. And here we have a create validator function. This create validator function will use our Vest suite to create an actual Angular validator function. So let's copy paste this and rename this to create async validator function, and this would also return an async validator function. Let's return a new observable for now. So our Vest validation suite always needs the entire model. So in here we will use a clone deep from the current model, and then we would set the new field with that specific value, so we have the latest model to pass to our Vest suite. Now in our observable, let's run the suite. And this would return a promise. So there is a problem with the typing here. So this would be better. Now it has access to the done. And let's again get the errors from our result. And instead of returning this, we would just next our observer. And let's complete it as well. This is the only code needed to create the create async validator function. So remember this form model directive. This is what we use to hook into the ng model and create an actual validator. So right now we have to provide ng validators. So let's change this to ng async validators. We would also have to change the interface to use an async validator. this would have to return an observable of validators or null. We would create an async validator with the function we just created. And now we still have to cast this to an observable. Let's see if it works. Let's inspect here, the network tab, and type 1. Awesome, it goes to the Swappy API and it returns to 100. So when we click here, the user is already taken. We can see that the rest of our validators also work. We can also see that the previous calls are being cancelled with our abort signal. That's it. I had fun. I hope you did too. We learned how to create asynchronous functions in our VEST validation suites. They work with promises. We have an abort signal, so we can have that switch map-like behavior. And by changing a few things in our template-driven forms package, which I open sourced by the way, it's very easy to create validators in combination with asynchronous validators. I will share the StackBlitz example in the description below. If you like this content, please subscribe. Thank you very much. Cheers.